Good evening. My name is Lucy Quicken, and it is with great honor that I welcome you to the 32nd Annual Science Research Symposium. What makes symposiums special every year is that it is entirely run by the students, specifically by 5 hardworking juniors who we like to call the Fab Five. Although, as a member of the Fab Five, I would normally be helping to plan a celebration in our auditorium, I am honored to be working with my 4 friends, Nora Lowe, Sydney Levy, Ariana Tbankin, and Julie Laquino, to plan this amazing virtual event.
My name is Nora Lowe, and I had the honor of orchestrating the creation of our symposium booklet. Through tenacity and dedication, our writers and artists produced a book which we hope you and your family cherish and look back upon fondly when remembering your science research journey.
I had the opportunity to lead in the creation of the virtual symposium website to showcase the hard work and dedication of our science research students. This website will always be available so you can see the amazing work our students produce.
I was tasked with heading the History and Invitations Committee. Science research places a strong emphasis on community, and we always work hard to keep in touch with graduated students. Our committee focused on compiling the invitations list to broadcast symposium to all of the important members of the ASR community, including current and future students, parents, mentors, Barham Hills faculty, and alumni. It is the strong sense of community that science research fosters that makes the program the success it is.
My name is Julia Laquino, and I had the pleasure of heading this year's Press and Publicity Committee. Our committee helped advertise and promote the symposium through posters, banners, and other media. We love spreading the word, and we are excited that so many of you tuned in to watch today. Now please enjoy a video montage of our seniors throughout their years in the science research program.
Because this is the second virtual production of our symposium, we have the ability to embrace so many people in our science research community. Teachers, mentors, alumni, parents, friends, and even proud grandparents. We welcome you all and would like to thank you for your overwhelming support. I would especially like to welcome the graduating science research class of 2021, for they're the people who have embraced this odd year as their own. Tonight, you'll be able to view the work of our 32 seniors who have completed individual research projects, each the product of hundreds of hours of determination, perseverance, and outstanding scientific inquiry. Additionally, you'll be able to view the work of our sophomores and juniors as they share their explorations within their fields of interest. We are so honored to be displaying the same high-level work, the In Vivo Symposium, as you watch from your living room. And I can proudly say for all of us here, how thankful we are for last year's Fab Five. Mia, Luke, Olivia, Bailey, and Lizzie, who made this all possible. I'd now like to hand it off to our next member of the Fab Five, Nora Lowe, who will be explaining the importance of this year's symposium theme, Foraging into the Unknown.
Thank you, Lucy. Good evening. My name is Nora Lowe, and I will speak a bit about the theme we've selected for this symposium, Foraging into the Unknown. Georgia O'Keeffe once said, "To make your unknown known, that's the important thing." Though she was an artist, O'Keeffe articulated so well a principle integral in all scientific disciplines. Science research is a leap, not of faith, but of careful planning and calculation. Yet it is still a leap into the unknown nonetheless. By nature in science, we cast a net into the ambiguity of the unknown in hopes of grasping something tangible, a piece of knowledge, a fact, a finding. Science research is a constant reminder of what we don't know. Yes, we can attest to the breadth of scientific knowledge in the form of prior literature, which is composed of a seemingly insurmountable stock of journal articles and instructional materials. However, our robust findings pale in comparison to what has not yet been found, what is still unknown. That is precisely where science's beauty lies. The unknown will always be infinitely larger than the known. A scientist's work is never truly complete. Again and again, we reach into that abyss, which is the unknown, hoping to add to our growing knowledge base. As scientists and learners, we embrace the ongoing cycle. The year of 2021 has been the epitome of this notion. Science research is lauded for operating as a well-oiled machine because through careful instruction and assignments, students are invariably primed for their projects and prepared to write a culminating research paper. But this year presented a distinct challenge. How would sophomores secure mentors during the pandemic? How would juniors be able to conduct studies remotely? How would seniors compete virtually? In the end, we exhibited tenacity as always. Sophomores persevered, steadfastly emailing, phone calling, Zooming, Skyping, Google Meeting until they secured a mentor. Many of the juniors watched as the contingency plan for their study became their only plan, but they accepted the change, shifting their topic focus and preparing to perform computational studies. The seniors competed virtually, perfecting both their PowerPoints and their Zoom backgrounds, finding ways to maintain that same standard of camaraderie as in years past. In true scientific fashion, students and teachers approached the situation just as they would any scientific problem. We faced the ambivalence head on. We did not face the unknown passively. Instead, we made the conscious decision to forge into it, hands outstretched. And now I would like to introduce the director of our program, Mrs. Stephanie Greenwald.
Every spring, the junior class has what we call our Rising Seniors Meeting. Here, we discuss all the details of the upcoming summer and the start of senior year. From sharing expectations of our upcoming studies to discussing the rigorous Regeneron application, while also explaining how to maintain summer fun, this meeting has traditionally been filled with both excitement and a little trepidation. However, I vividly remember last year's Rising Seniors meeting with the class of 2021. We weren't crowded in our little room, squeezing too many people in a sofa built for 3. Instead, I was sitting before my home computer, staring at the faces of these young people looking back at me, hoping I would tell them everything was going to be okay. With the sudden onset of COVID-19, their carefully crafted plans were no longer. Rather than traveling across the globe to labs far and near, or organizing study groups to meet at the North Castle Library to supportively complete their home projects, it had all suddenly changed. New protocols had to be created, hypotheses had to be revised, and most importantly, a new sense of purpose had to be found. And all of those faces looked at me for the answers. And for the first time in a long time, I just didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure my words of inspiration would be enough. I wasn't sure our mentors would be able to devise new protocols. And I wasn't certain our rising seniors would persevere. So I did what I usually do when I need my own inspiration. I looked back at the faces of the class of 2021 to see what they could give to me. I searched for Lauren and Chloe for empathy, as I had witnessed their concern for those living with cancer reflected in their own work. I moved across the screen and glanced upon Griffin, Lorraine, and Skylar and Haley, whose love of animals made me realize how necessary it is to help all our magnificent creatures survive. My sense of awe about our majestic universe was reinforced by our astronomers, Kristen, Joe, Melissa, and Will. And I searched the screen further for hope. I thought of how scientists must create clear, precise, and genuine metrics, and the work of Alex, Marley, Drew, and Alexa helped me realize we could not give up. I marveled at the innovative work these young scientists were about to embrace in a world where innovative technologies and artificial intelligence could create the unimaginable. And I saw Tessa, Elena, Jake, and Ali staring back at me. I knew I had to relinquish any sense of doubt. Searching for the perfect words to say, I thought of the power of language that inspired the studies of Chloe, Gabby, and Lizzie. I marveled at the development of these motivated rising seniors symbolized by the infant research of Sophie, to the studies of adolescence by Alexa, Raquel, and Dylan, and finally the investigation of the aged by Lily. We had to persist. We had to forge onward. If doors were suddenly shut and labs would not permit the students to enter, they would alter their course. If Anika, Mia, and Olivia could not work in a lab, they would simply search through existing data and make groundbreaking findings nonetheless. Nothing would stop them. If need be, these young people would do whatever necessary, whatever had to be done, whether it be Jared growing meat in his garage, Bailey testing plants in his bedroom closet, or even Luke teaching himself a new coding language and learning about a new disease in a very short period of time. I knew our students were extraordinary, and I had a robust body of evidence to prove it. I mean, demonstrate it. Sorry, inside joke. So I looked back at the faces of the rising seniors of 2021, and the words just flowed. We talked about assignment due dates, revised timelines, and all the minutiae that goes into preparing for the start of the next stage of their journey. We did what we always do to move forward. We planned and planned and planned. Although we were forging into the unknown, these students had already faced so many uncharted challenges over the last few years that what they encountered last spring was simply another list of obstacles to overcome. So seniors, you did it. You faced a world that gave you some of the most insurmountable hurdles I have ever seen. And once more, with your bright, determined faces and your unwillingness to hear the word no, you accomplished the unimaginable and you succeeded. And thus, on behalf of your fellow classmates, your school community, Mr. Gulick, Mrs. Salamone, Mrs. Santini, Dr. Matthew, and myself, congratulations. We are very, very proud of all of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Greenwald. Now, we want to introduce you to someone who has been an important part of the Authentic Science Research Program. 18 years ago, he arrived at Byram Hills High School as a 9th grade earth science teacher. And since then, he has continued to support the science research program in numerous ways, as he serves on our institutional review board and is always excited to learn about the progress of our students. He exhibits true leadership and deeply cares about each and every student in our school. I'm honored to introduce our principal at Byram Hills High School, Mr. Christopher Walsh.
On behalf of the high school administration and the Authentic Science Research faculty, I am honored to welcome you to the 2021 Science Research Symposium. The world was a much different place when our current seniors entered the program in the fall of 2018. It was the start of their sophomore year, and pandemics were the topics of Hollywood movies, not something that would fundamentally change nearly everything about their day-to-day lives. This time last year, they were unsure if they would be able to conduct their research in a world that was totally locked down. Each of them had to find a mentor, develop their study, propose a plan for conducting it, and do it all from their homes. Through hard work, determination, and sheer grit, they not only completed their research, they found entirely new and ingenious ways to do it. They planned, they scrapped their plans, they locked down, they renovated spaces in their homes, they hit the reset button, they failed, and they did it again until they got it right. They found new ways to innovate and conduct their research. They found ways to collaborate and connect with others through their research at a time when human connections were becoming increasingly difficult. Every year, I like to highlight how all of these seniors have added to the collective knowledge of humanity through their research. They can live the rest of their lives knowing that they have contributed in some way to helping us become more enlightened. Their accomplishments in a normal year would be amazing. This year, they are simply incredible. I also like to highlight our tremendous faculty members who have guided and supported them through their scientific journey. Ms. Stephanie Greenwald, Dr. Caroline Matthew, Ms. Megan Salamone, Mr. Jim Gulick, and Ms. Rhonda Santini have been with them every step of the way. From the deer in the headlights early days of their sophomore year to the senior giveback in tonight's symposium. They have cultivated a community of learners who care deeply about each other's successes. They truly are a family. When others ask, what is the secret to our program's success? I point to the dedication, hard work, and caring of the faculty members who lead it. Another consistent thread that runs throughout the history of the program has been support from parents, mentors, teachers, alumni, friends, and our Board of Education. I want to thank each and every one of them who have supported our seniors in this program. Tonight, I also want to take a moment to remember Mr. Vincent Greco for his wonderful life and his enormous contributions to the Authentic Science Research Program. Mr. Greco passed away earlier this year and was such an important part of the success of this program. Before his passing, he attended every one of the science research symposiums. He was incredibly proud of the program, and I would like to acknowledge his part in creating it all those years ago. We would not have had a program without him. Thank you, Mr. Greco, and know that this program will always honor your contributions. Thank you once again for joining us this evening. Enjoy the program, and go Bobcats.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce one senior who will share her thoughts with you this evening, Chloe Weissman. Even before I got to know Chloe, I could easily recognize that she was a great person, only aware that you can hear her contagious laugh emanating from the science research classroom from across the school. Luckily, Chloe was in my science research class this year, and as I learned more about her, she only became greater in my eyes. As the appointed class leader, she made daily announcements and was responsible for bringing our class to order every single day. Through this, Chloe demonstrated qualities of what it takes to be an amazing leader, scientist, and friend. She taught us that sometimes you just need to see the positive side to things. When everyone's feeling run down or out of hope in science research, they can count on Chloe to be a source of light in the classroom. Whether it's showing off her puppy Bronxy on the Zoom or having to text other seniors to come on time, Chloe is always and will forever be a positive presence in people's lives. She always tries her hardest, and there's never a moment where she could not help her classmates out, whether it's a sophomore struggling to find a mentor or a junior nervous about their big PowerPoint. But most importantly, in this tough year of hybrid learning, Chloe has been a person who has stayed resilient and highly optimistic during this time, which is something that everyone needs in their life. It is easy to see the lasting impact that Chloe has had on her peers and her teachers. To put it frankly, she is the kind of person that science research was built for, someone with determination, resilience, kindness, and a constant positivity. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Chloe Weissman to address the senior class.
To my fellow senior class, we have finally made it to our senior symposium. Even though we are not indulging in Dr. Matthews' cucumber sandwiches, nor squished together on the auditorium stage, we have successfully completed our journey in the Authentic Science Research Program. Among us, we have Regeneron top scholars and a finalist, published researchers, as well as ISEF and JSHS presenters. And despite the wide range of topics, from black holes in space to what makes a baby laugh, we all share a very important similarity. We had the courage and determination to forge into many unknowns throughout the past 3 years. Sophomore year, I was terrified to take my first step into the science research classroom. I was uncertain on what I wanted to study, intimidated to be in a class with older students, and doubted if I had what it takes to be in this prestigious program. While I was excited to spend time in the little room, eating one too many red and white mint twists, and looking forward to writing my name on the mentor board in a neon color, I was scared. Yet despite these fears of mine, I took my first step of what would soon become many through the science research doorway. We all did. And although it was not easy, we continued to take those first steps throughout our time here. We took a first step when we all walked to the front of the classroom to give our very first elevator speech. While we spent the night before memorizing exactly what we were going to spontaneously say, it still took an immense amount of courage to stand up in front of the upperclassmen and act out a professional conversation. We eventually stepped into the little room, finally picking up the phone to call a potential mentor with shaking hands and stuttering voices. These first steps continued into our junior year, when we had to begin developing a study by drafting objectives, learning methods, and eventually formalizing a precise protocol. And then, unexpectedly, we were thrown off balance when the labs closed from COVID, and many of us had to totally redesign our study. However, with the support of our teachers, our mentors, and each other, we were able to get back on our feet and took a step outside the classroom to actually carry out our own novel studies. Virtual steps were also taken as we participated in many online competitions where we shared our years of work to numerous judges and then patiently waited, some of us on FaceTime with photo booth open, to hear who was victorious. Looking back, without those first steps, we would not be where we are today. High school seniors with real-world experiences who are more than prepared to take on the next chapter of their lives. All the first steps we took in this program have formed our own individual paths. That is what makes this program so special, that we all had unique journeys, yet faced them as a family, always supporting one another. Whether it was asking questions in our SR for Life group chat, receiving SPSS help from an ASR alumni, or spending hours on Zoom formatting our papers to perfection, we were there for each other every step of the way. Along these paths, we may have had to step a little further, and we may have had to trust ourselves a little more. Although there are no more first steps for us to take at Byram Hills, the rest of our lives will be full of unknowns that require a leap of faith. So, my fellow classmates, let us continue to ask big questions, study the unknown, and remember that if you ever need a little push to take that first step, you always have your ASR family back home. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe. At this time, before we present our seniors with their science research diplomas, let us relive the greatest challenge and triumph of the class of 2021, the Regeneron Science Talent Search paper. It has become a tradition for our seniors to film themselves when they finally submit their paper because it represents all of the hard work they undertook for the past 3 years. Let's see what this looked like for some of our students.
Ready to submit. Yay.
All right. All right, let's see if this works. Let me just run the code. Whoa. All right, come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes, no, 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 no. Oh my God. Oh. Okay. 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 Let's go.
Ready to submit? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yay! We submitted! Alright, I'm gonna hit submit.
Yay!
Are you ready? I'm ready. Okay, let's see. Ready? Wait, pause the video. Are you kidding? I need to check it one more time, and then I'll be good. Olivia? I can't submit it. I'm sorry. It's been 12 hours. You really... I just need to check it. You know what? Screw it. No, you didn't! Oh my god!
It's recording. Okay. Hey guys. So press submit right now. No, wait. Wait, I looked up just one. Oh my god. So now there's an actual submit button. Please confirm. Oh, wait, guys, I didn't do that yet. Yeah, I didn't either. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yay!
Oh my god, I'm shaking. It's 7:58. I'm submitting. I can't. Ice cream time. It's frozen.
The rise of the biohazards. 3 ninjas. 1 journey. To fight for data. Battle for answers. And earn their spots in Regeneron. When they fell down, they always got back up and kept moving to the top. While it wasn't easy as pie, the ninjas emerged victorious. Dedicated to Ziggy Jane, eaten by Murphy.
As you can see, submitting their papers to Regeneron was certainly one of the seniors' highlights in science research. After working on their studies for 3 years, the seniors are all deserving of recognition and praise. They have become an essential part of the science research community and have largely been the underclassmen's first mentors, teaching them how to navigate the journey of science research and always doing it with a smile on their faces. Seniors, you have all come so far and achieved so much, and for that, we congratulate you. I would now like to introduce our teachers, Mr. Gulick, Mrs. Greenwald, and Dr. Matthew, to present awards to some of our seniors who have truly left a mark on this program.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gulick, and tonight I have the honor of presenting the Dr. Robert Pablico Award. This award is given in honor of Dr. Pablico, who over 30 years ago envisioned and ultimately created the Authentic Science Research Program as a way for students to demonstrate and grow their science aptitude, work ethic, collaboration, supportiveness, and risk-taking. I had the privilege of teaching this year's recipient, who demonstrates all of these qualities and more. Her journey started before she even entered our program. After seeing a documentary about a premature aging disease, her interest in the biology of aging was sparked. 2 years later, as she began her science research program, she came across telomeres and was hooked. Her persistence was first tested after reading her favorite journal article and writing to the author in hopes of securing a mentor. After no response, she sent a follow-up email, and then another and another. It was on email number 5 she finally received a response. Due to her persistence, she secured a mentor and was off. Like many of our students, the pandemic necessitated major changes to her study. No longer able to go to the lab and collect data, she was provided with the opportunity to work with previously collected data. In working with her mentor and others at the lab, she had the confidence to propose new ideas for ways to analyze the data, the drive to come up with solutions to any problems that arose, and the work ethic to put in the tremendous amount of time needed to complete her study. Her work ethic was ever evident as she continued data analysis well into October. As if ongoing data analysis with less than a month to the Regeneron submission deadline wasn't enough, her ability to deal with adversity was tested even further with a poorly timed concussion. Overcoming all of these difficulties, she was ultimately able to submit a top scholar-worthy paper to Regeneron. With barely a pause following her Regeneron submission, she was onto her JSHS PowerPoint, which I must say needed a lot of work. After sharing my opinion in a not-so-subtle way, our recipient demonstrated her ability to take criticism well and jumped into one of the greatest PowerPoint transformations I have seen. From what was a paper disguised as a PowerPoint came a detail-filled, award-winning professional presentation. To me, however, this award is not about the outcome of the science, which is why I have not discussed the details of the study, but about the recipient having the characteristics the program values and hopes to encourage. As already stated, the student demonstrated many of those values that make a successful science research student. Even more importantly, however, are some of the other valuable traits she demonstrated in her time with us. Whether in person or virtually from home, the student always brought her cheerfulness, positivity, and a smile to class. Not only was this appreciated by all, but to bring that energy to the class every day in the face of what we were all dealing with this last year is even more special. No matter what she had on her plate, and it was a lot, she always was happy to help her classmates in any way possible. In my opinion, having gratitude and showing appreciation are two of the most valuable life skills one can have. To hear the student talk about her relationship with her mentor and how much gratitude she has for all her mentor has done for her makes it incredibly clear how important and valued this relationship was to her. To show her appreciation, she worked with a woodworker to make a custom birdhouse as a thank you gift for her mentor. This is just a glimpse of how special this student is. Every year when we bestow the Dr. Pablico Award to a senior, we choose a quote to exemplify the recipient. This tradition is a nod to Dr. Pablico, who frequently shared inspiring quotes with his students. This year's quote is from Dr. Martin Luther King and is, "The quality, not the longevity of one's life, is what is important." With this student going out into the world, perhaps it will be both the quality and the longevity. It was my privilege to teach, and it's my honor to present this year's Dr. Robert Pablico Award to Olivia Cantor. Congratulations, Liv. And now, Mrs. Greenwald will be presenting our next award.
Thank you, Mr. Gulick. I am honored to bestow the award for excellence in science research to this year's recipient. In working with hundreds of young scientists for the past 14 years, I often wonder, what makes for a truly great researcher? What is it that they actually do that makes them outstanding? Is it describing cancer cells in a unique way, or eliciting novel behavior in mice, or even getting a computer program to finally work in the way it was intended? Indeed, these are all noticeable accomplishments, and yet I believe excellence in science is not always what a student does. Rather, what makes a scientist excel is often something we don't see. Scientists think, they ponder, and they let their minds bravely venture to uncharted territory. And that's what I truly love best. When a scientist dares to let their mind go there, out there, when they just let themselves think. And that's when the magic happens. One such senior allowed herself to contemplate very daring questions. I vividly remember when she sat before me, sharing her fascination with the notion that women are statistically more prone to PTSD, fear, and depression than men. However, she couldn't believe that much of the research solely uses male subjects. There was barely anything written about studies specifically studying females. This did not sit right with her. Fortunately, she was able to collaborate with a mentor who shared this passion, and this student was able to conduct research to address her question regarding sex-specific chronic, unpredictable, mild stress, as well as fear conditioning. Poring over hours and hours of video footage of mice, she eventually claimed novel findings that may point toward the potential for female-specific therapeutics. but there's much more about this accomplished scientist. She exemplifies outstanding work habits, magnificent writing, and captivating presentation skills. We've all seen that numerous times. But once again, her extraordinary gift is something we don't always see. It's the kind smile of encouragement she gives to the nervous sophomore after their first presentation. It's the article she graciously emails to another student just because she thought they might be interested. And it's the quick, unsolicited offer to help a teacher who needs a hand. Not everyone sees these acts of kindness, but I do. I've noticed them all. Her outreached arms and her willingness to share her wise advice makes her the person so many of us look up to. And we are grateful and privileged to have her in this program. As a young scientist, she has accomplished so much, but I know there is much more for her on the horizon. And thus, I am honored to give this year's award for excellence in science research to the magnificent Mia Dittrich. And now, Dr. Matthew will present the next award.
Thank you, Mrs. Greenwald. Now for the Abe Shaheen Science Research Award, which is given each year to the senior who has demonstrated the creativity, resourcefulness, and persistence that elevates science research to an art. It is given in honor of Abe Shaheen, the first student who originally came to Dr. Pablico asking to do science. Taking every AP course that Byram Hills offered had left him wanting more. The opportunity to stretch himself beyond the confines of traditional classroom education. Ever since then, the Authentic Science Research Program has allowed our students to do just that, to find their passion, to step up to the challenges and obstacles that lie in their path, to create, to do real science. One student in particular has stood out this year, finding a positive outlook on any situation, forging ahead with an open mind, and leading with bravery and kindness. The spirit of open-mindedness has been embraced by this student as a core aspect of his personality, and especially his approach to his research. He constantly looked for opportunities to ask new questions and make his work the most relevant and meaningful it could be. To that end, when the COVID-19 quarantine restrictions upended his plans to travel to the lab, this student looked not only to develop his interests into a study that could be done remotely, but also a way that his work could be of some use to researchers tackling the pandemic. His kindness also extends within our closer community. This student is a central figure in the ASR family, always enthusiastically celebrating the successes of every student, big and small, from review guides to mentor calls to publications and prizes. He bubbles over with enthusiasm during class announcements, established what will forever be a personal favorite way to start the day with videos of baby animals, and seemingly has a positive personal mantra for any situation. He spreads his love of science far and wide, from competing in Science Olympiad to taking science labs down to Cohen Hill, in person or through Zoom. I know it won't be just me who misses him next year. Looking over the past year, I can't help but think of Winston Churchill's quote, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts." As with every one of our seniors, and indeed all our students know, successes and failures both abound along this journey for anyone brave and persistent enough to take it. This student exemplifies those qualities. On behalf of the science research team, it gives me great pleasure to award the Abe Shaheen Science Research Award to Luke Bryady.
Thank you, Dr. Matthew. Congratulations to those incredible seniors. We are all very proud of you. And now, we are excited to introduce each of our seniors. They will receive their science research diploma, to declare the conclusion of their wonderful high school research journey. As has become a tradition during the ceremony, it is time to look back on where this all began.
As a freshman, each senior submitted an application to our program. We have revisited these applications and selected a quote from each one that we believe represents who our seniors once were, with a prescient glimpse of who they might become. Let's see if you guess who they are. In addition, we take a peek back to see what they looked like as young budding scientists. Now, it is my great pleasure to present the class of 2021.
Since 7th grade, I've spent hours watching videos of medical procedures, ranging from nasopharyngoscopes to open heart surgeries to cyst extractions and pathologies. Luke Bridey, Elucidating Mechanisms and Impacts of Age-Related Alterations in Blood-CNS Barriers, a Transcriptome Study.
I like to use the metaphor of a sponge to describe a person who asks questions because they try to soak up as much information as they can. I think of myself as a sponge. Dylan Ertel, I Can't Even Imagine, an exploration of teens' reactions to a friend's parents affected by amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
I am someone who always starts my work for long-term assignments as soon as possible, and I never wait until the last minute. Lauren Amico, Investigating Risks for Caregiver Strain in Parents of Children with Cancer.
When I have downtime in the summer, I read up and watch videos on past genetic achievements and current upgrades in technology such as CRISPR. Griffin Nenner, Comparing Seasonal Differences of Affection Prevalence in Intensity BD-Infected Green Frogs and Eastern Newts.
My love of marine life started at age 8 when the movie Dolphin Tale came out. Haley Harris, The Development of Dolphin Creativity, an investigation of dolphins' long-term ability to apply strategies when utilizing creativity to complete cognitive tasks.
While building my computer, I ended up having to put the screws in upside down, which proved to be no easy task. This mistake caused a setback of about an hour or two, but not once did I think of quitting. William Quinn, Improving the Launch Velocity Capabilities of a Hypervelocity Launch Gun Using Numerical Simulation.
Last year, I learned the Rubik's Cube and wanted to spread my knowledge. I taught my family but wasn't satisfied, so I thought, would I be able to teach elderly people the Rubik's Cube? Olivia Cantor, Birds of a Feather Age Together. Telomere dynamics and social behavior predict lifespan in female Japanese quail.
I'm curious and motivated to ask questions. I'm always a student asking 10 questions per class. Drew Siskin, Determining Effective Cycle Thresholds for Evaluating Colonization versus True Infection of Clostridium difficile using Expert Assay.
Being claimed the winner of the 8th grade egg drop competition opened my eyes to a new path for me down the road, a path of science. Bailey Goldstein, Investigating Differences in the Relaxation of Non-Photochemical Quenching and its Implications for Crop Photosynthetic Efficiency.
Throughout my childhood, I always read books, went to museums, watched movies and documentaries about the wonders of the world around me, as well as the wonders of the world beyond Earth. Melissa Rivera, Analyzing light curves of white dwarf stars observed by tests in search of transits indicative of circumstellar material or eclipsing binaries.
Excelling at sports requires creativity and perseverance, traits that are equally important in the pursuit of science research. Alexa Jindal, Investigating platelet-rich plasma to improve functional mobility in patients with knee osteoarthritis.
My initial thought turned out to be incorrect, but I learned that scientists aren't always right, and they often have to continue working and researching to find the correct answer. Jake Teitelbaum, an analysis of recurrent proximal policy optimization models and reward functions and neural networks for a financial market prediction.
I've been to about 8 escape the rooms because I love the way your mind is challenged. So I was inspired to create my own. Lorraine DeSano, Exploring the relationship between human presence and in-kennel stress behaviors in shelter dogs.
At our doctor's annual visit, I would listen to my twin brother hysterically cry in the car, refusing to enter the doctor's office. Yet I would hop on the table and play with everything on the wall. I was fascinated. Alexa Cohen, Exploring Parental Expectations for Children's Educational Degree Attainment and its Relationship with a Child's Actual Educational Degree, Parental Involvement in the College Search Process, and a Child's Overall Well-Being.
Being observant is an important attribute of being a good scientist. A few years ago, I was watching Friends and noticed they made a mistake in a scene. Skylar Golden, blood and urine concentrations, pharmacokinetics, and effect on inflammatory mediators of fluoxetine and megulim following transdermal administration to horses.
All I had at the time was less than an average laptop, so I decided I was going to build my own, even though I was just 11 years old. Ali Hafez, using artificial neural networks to accurately simulate carbon nanotube array field transistors.
While completing the dangling duo, a high ropes challenge isn't exactly a groundbreaking scientific discovery, we use the basic fundamentals of trial and error, discovery, analysis, and modification to create a method to get to the top. Lizzie Manowitz, comparing incremental language processing in toddlers with autism spectrum disorder and typically developing toddlers.
At the final week of camp, I had done everything except for the big banana. I made a plan, but when I first lifted the canoe, it was heavier than I thought and I immediately dropped it. Kristen Eichelbeck, a realistic model of the Faraday rotation of a different light rays from SGRA to better understand the gas surrounding black holes.
I was unable to rely on my teacher for help. I studied in all the wrong ways. I felt helpless, like a baby bird leaving the nest for the first time. Elena Pysick, enhancing the extracellular matrix bioscaffold, investigating the role of matrix-bound nanovesicle-associated interleukin 33 in the macrophage transcriptome.
One of the most difficult problems I've had to face was breaking my nose last spring. Marley Cantor, identical but not the same, utilizing the aging and lifestyle epigenome to discriminate monozygotic twins in forensic scenarios.
Since I'd never experienced anything like this, I made a plan. You can't just jump into the big things. Lily Zeitelswag, elucidating the link between Alzheimer's disease and type 2 diabetes. KRI 6.2 APP PS1 exhibit behavioral deficits without an increase in amyloid beta plaque load.
On an ordinary day in school, each period consists of me asking at least one question. Sophie Stumacher, peekaboo, determining the latency to laughter in the case of 3 different jokes within infants aged 6 to 18 months.
Do I have what it takes to be a good scientist? After a long, hard look in the mirror, the answer is yes. Cipriano, calculating atmospheric disequilibrium of exoplanets as a possible biosignature.
Whenever my parents would tell me something, I would always ask why, which drove them crazy. Anika Kumar, stem cell treatment for stroke, a meta-analysis of effects of functional and pathophysiological outcomes.
Answering questions about gender inequality is one of the most progressive and innovative things researchers can do to better our society. Gabby Ripka, the Hillary Clinton effect, evidence that female politicians use more personal pronouns and fewer collective pronouns than their male counterparts.
I've been raised bilingual. After taking a vigorous placement exam, I'm the first freshman student ever in Byram Hills history to take both French 3 while taking Spanish 2, and I currently have an A+ in both classes. Chloe Sempieri, the Benjamin Button effect, using children's optimal language acquisition to improve language learning in adults.
When I turned 11, I walked across the street from my house, eager to apply for an internship at the Armand Veterinarian Clinic. Unfortunately, 11 is too young. Alex Deck, manual identification of FISS features in OCT images for the eventual training of a novel image identification algorithm to detect the presence of neoplasia.
In addition to performing well in school, I have a curious mind and I like to understand why and how things work. Tessa Schwartz, the effects of scaling on muscle force production in biological machines.
After the first day of soccer tryouts, my butterflies had vanished and the only thought was to give it all I had. And finally, the coaches made up their minds. I had made the varsity team. Chloe Weissman, the association between marital relationship adjustment and the number of children in families with pediatric cancer.
Throughout my life, I have struggled with a stutter, and I've always had curiosity concerning this topic. Raquel Kenner, how do others perceive me? An exploration of influence of self-disclosure statements on viewer perceptions of emerging adults who stutter.
Being a good scientist requires curiosity, creativity, drive, and a good attitude. Clearly, I have the characteristics necessary to be a good scientist. Jared Alon, modulus of elasticity of the ideal decellularized plant material scaffold for the production of cultured meat.
My interest in biology was initially awakened by safari, one of my family's favorite pastimes. Mia Dittrich, epigenetic editing of CDK5 leads to sexually dysmorphic stress response.
Congratulations to the Authentic Science Research class of 2021. With over 100 students each pursuing work in a unique field, this program has created a group of outstanding researchers who have all been working tirelessly to advance their respective fields of interest. Everyone in the program deserves to be recognized for doing the impossible, for doing research some would deem unimaginable for a high school student, and for doing it with passion. It's incredibly difficult to single out students from our program, but there are 2 underclassmen who have gone above and beyond this year. Thus, allow me to introduce Mrs. Salomon, who will be awarding the Outstanding Sophomore Award, and Dr. Matthew, who will be presenting the Outstanding Junior Award for 2021.
Thank you, Ariana. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to present an award to a student who has been characterized by meticulous attention to detail, intellectual curiosity, and perhaps above all else, consistency. This is a student who consistently performs her best, produces exemplary work, who is an engaged and participatory member of class, and who consistently asks all the right questions. She is committed to personal and academic growth. She's responsive to constructive criticism and teacher feedback. And she is a true shining star in our sophomore class. I am very happy to present the Outstanding Sophomore Award to Abby Eichelbeck. Dr. Matthew will now present the next award.
Thank you, Mrs. Salomon. Junior year in science research is a time of growth and independence in the science research program. As such, our students are routinely warned to be prepared to be the forgotten middle child. With seniors preparing for Regeneron and sophomores getting their footing with all they need to do, the juniors set out together to build their skills and determine an actual project. This takes grit and determination, but above all, the success of our program, both within junior year and throughout the whole 3 years, relies on the help that the students give freely to each other. From the buddy system with the upperclassmen reaching out to sophomores with pep talks and practical advice, to the class group texts to make sure everyone remembers when their 20 pages of notes are due, to the alumni who are drawn back in to help students prepare for their research and competitions, we thrive on altruism. So in the end, there is a balance to be found. The passion and drive to move forward independently in building a research plan and the skills to be able to do it, and the kindness and consideration to nurture our ASR family and build our supportive community here. As Martin Luther King Jr. would say, our juniors must walk in the light of creative altruism. It's my pleasure to award this year's Outstanding Junior Prize to a student who has exemplified these qualities throughout the year counseling sophomores through their review guide and mentor process, impressing everyone at her mentor's lab with her insightful questions and novel ideas, and all the while her computer running for what must be hundreds of hours to deal with all the data she has to analyze herself. On behalf of the entire science research team, this outstanding junior prize goes to Alana Foreman.
We would now like to address the amazing teachers who have made all of this possible. Mrs. Greenwald, Dr. Matthew, Mrs. Salomon, and Mr. Gulick. We would like to thank the four of you for all of your support during this journey. Thanks to you, we have all become better researchers, writers, speakers, and professionals in our respective fields.
It's impossible to express in words how thankful we are for your constant support. You teach us how to write and think scientifically. You give us careful and thoughtful feedback on our work. You play a crucial role in shaping us as students, and you're always there to both celebrate our successes and to pick us up when we encounter an obstacle.
Everyone in this program has experienced challenges, from losing mentors to changing topics to labs getting shut down nationwide. Throughout all of this, you four have always been there to guide us, to help pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off, and most of all, to keep going. You've taught us to adapt and create new opportunities when life doesn't go quite as planned. And we will carry with us the perseverance you've taught us for the rest of our lives.
And last but not least, we would like to thank Mrs. Santini for everything she does to keep our program running smoothly. All the behind-the-scenes work that you do contributes immensely to our program and never goes unnoticed. It's no easy task collecting and organizing assignments from 101 students who all have their own unique curriculum. However, Mrs. Santini, you never fail to keep track of it all.
Thank you again to Mrs. Greenwald, Dr. Matthew, Mrs. Salomon, Mr. Gulick, and Mrs. Santini. You are beyond incredible. We owe all our success to you.
Lastly, we would like to dedicate this year's symposium to the late Mr. Vincent Greco. 33 years ago, on the Board of Education, he cast the deciding vote to approve a proposal for our science research program. He took a leap of faith in approving ASR, and the rest is history.
While many ASR students never met Mr. Greco, everyone in the program knows his name and the crucial impact he made. We're a community, and Mr. Greco was seen as the grandfather of it. He paved the way for over 500 graduates to date to have this invaluable research opportunity.
Mr. Greco was always instrumental in keeping in touch with the program that he helped to get off the ground. Following the announcement of a Regeneron Scholar, he would always go into the classroom and congratulate the students and teachers. He was so greatly invested that the school had an ID badge custom made for him, although he wasn't a teacher.
Loved for his warmth, positive attitude, and dedication to the program and its students, Mr. Greco will be greatly missed by all. We will keep telling his story in the years to come.
Mrs. Megan Salomon captured his values perfectly when she said, "He understood one of the most fundamental principles of education. Never underestimate the potential of young people to accomplish great things." For this, the program extends our deep gratitude for the life, legacy, and faith with which Mr. Greco entrusted us 33 years ago. And now, this concludes the live stream portion of our virtual symposium. We would like to thank Mr. Brian Melso from the Byram Hills Media Center for all of his help in putting this incredible production together. We are forever grateful. We now invite you to visit our symposium website by clicking on the link that appears at the end of this live stream. When you click the link, you will be directed to the homepage or our virtual presentation hall, which includes links to our senior, junior, and sophomore rooms. Open any of these three doors to view the presentations of the members of each class. Upon entering a virtual room, we invite you to read a little about what each of our students are studying, watch their presentation videos, and view their posters. Additionally, you may click on the link to our virtual program book. For our alumni, there is a virtual room set up with an alumni slideshow and a brief questionnaire that alumni can fill out to let our program know what you are doing now professionally. You can also see our program acknowledgements, in which we like to thank all the faculty, parents, and alumni who make our program possible. Lastly, Before you leave our virtual symposium, we would love to hear from you through our Symposium Shoutouts page. Feel free to leave a message on the Padlet congratulating our students for all their hard work, especially our graduating seniors. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Thank you very much for attending our virtual symposium.